Greetings, my name is Rudimentary Rob. Welcome back to my Astroneer series. Today we are back on silver, but not for very long. As you recall at the end of the previous episode, we were getting ready to head off to worlds yet unknown. Wow, I mean, I've played on them before, but for your visual pleasure, you haven't had a chance to feast your eyes on anywhere else other than the locations we have already visited. Today, we're going to head off to a new one. So, get yourself strapped in, get your favourite comfy spacesuit on, and let's jump on the rocket and see where we end up going today. Alright, here we are having a bit of a look at our solar system and having a look around, and yes, Novus is our chosen destination for two reasons. One, we need methane for some important technical upgrades to our planet, exploring rover. And also we need iron for the atmospheric condenser, which of course we need in order to actually gather the methane. So here we are on Novus. Now you may have noticed as we flew in that Novus is actually not a planet, it's a moon of Visanya. So there's only going to be two surface gateways when it comes time to activating the gateways. And being a moon, being smaller, you generally tend to find the terrain is usually pocked with some craters. Yep, it's early on a Sunday. Words are already escaping me, but that's fine. Yes, there is craters. There is fairly three-dimensional terrain, a bit like there was on the moon of Silver. So yeah, when it comes time to going out on the rover, it is going to be a little bit of a handful, but I don't think it's going to be anything we're going to have too much trouble with. Now, these fractal roses, I don't think I've ever seen them before, or at least I haven't ever bothered investigating what they are for. Now, it is the 2nd of February when I'm recording this audio, and when I recorded the gameplay, it was only yesterday, the 1st. So I'm wondering, is this possibly something related to Valentine's Day? And if it is, I am going to be slightly curious about it, but at the same time, it's probably going to make me want to vomit in a bucket. So I don't know. There's deeper issues there, which we're not going to be exploring in any of the contexts of my videos, but we'll set that one aside. If anyone happens to know what those flowers are for, feel free to leave a comment down below. For the moment, we are busily trying to get our base set up. Now, irony is a cruel master, I have to say. The thoughts in terms of when I was, deciding what to pack in terms of materials for this trip, I thought, yeah, I'll bring some resin because we go through a lot of resin, and most of the stuff that we want to make at the start has to go on a platform of some sort. Therefore, we'll bring a few resin just to jumpstart that process. And then I told myself, you know what? We are not going to bring any compound because compound is always massively plentiful on every single one of the planets and moons. Yeah, we managed to pick the one landing site that does not appear to have a ready supply of compound in the immediate vicinity. Now, we did find a bit sort of intermingled with that ammonia deposit, but there really wasn't a lot there. There was a couple. It's enough to get our small printer set up, and then from there we can obviously get a couple of the medium platforms set up. But we're going to need a lot more compound than that. So, yeah, and we're going to need to, try and find some as soon as we can. Now, for the moment, Our first goal is to get the oxygenator set up, because without that, we're not going to be able to tether anywhere. And I did notice sort of towards the end of the previous episode that I was telling myself, yeah, I should have printed the oxygenator back on silver, and then it would have only taken up one slot on the storage. Yeah, I kind of forgot to do that, but it's all right. We got there in the end. We now have our oxygenator down. We can now do tether lines, except, yep, we don't have any compound to make tethers with. So we're going to have our range somewhat limited. Now, the plants on Novus are interesting, and there are two fairly aggressive plants on this moon. Neither of them have we... Oh, actually, there's three. I just remembered the stupid tongue things. There are two, though, that we haven't come across before. One of them is that very tall, thin plant that hurled a little bomb at us. Those ones aren't too hard to deal with, so as long as you've only got kind of one or two of them at a time. The tongues are easy to... All you got to do is just not stand too close to them, and even if you do, if there's only one of them, it'll just knock you away, and it's not that terrible. The one that you got to kind of watch out for in a, oh, I don't know what this plant does, I'll just ignore it kind of way, and we'll cover this one when we get to one. But there's a long, thin plant. It's got kind of a golden or a yellowy looking top on it. And it will whip you if you stand too close to it. So, yeah, we'll definitely be keeping an eye out for that one. In the meantime, we're still out and about searching for more compound. And we're just going to make some tethers now. I was hoping we'd find a ready source maybe just right on the lip of this crater. Yeah, we haven't found one yet. So we're going to put a tether line up here so we've got a more convenient way to top up our oxygen. I do make a mental note that there is that lapis pawn there. That's for the chest set. Yeah, not convinced I'm going to be collecting all of those, but it's good to be reminded where they are. I think they tend to be more on the moons, but I know I've seen the pieces on Calidor as well. So, ooh, hello. We've just found ourselves some compound. All right, let's get a whole bunch of this, and let's see if we can get a kickstart on building the rest of our base here on Novus. Alright, we've got our printers all set up. We're now going to get a landing platform down. Do we really need one? No. I'm only doing this because I've got a mission that says, hey, I need to put one on basically every celestial body. So that's why we're printing out a landing pad. We're going to chuck it down over there on that bit of dirt that I kind of smoothed out a bit. Do I care that it doesn't meet the definition of true level? Yeah, no. Look, Rick from Rick and Morty might like true level. For me, yeah, I don't even care about the bubble. Alright, time to get out here and do some more exploring and find some more resources. We're always wanting more resources, and we're going to take this as an opportunity to get some more resin. The little bit of resin we brought with us has more or less served its purpose, but we know moving forward we're going to need resin for a lot of other things as well. So remembering this lump of resin was here, I'm just coming down to grab... well, I was kind of hoping from the look of it that this was a more dense deposit of resin, but apparently it isn't. It was, yeah, a bit disappointing, but that's fine. We took what we could. Now, I am noting that that area there has a lot of sort of caves that appear to go down into the surface. Yeah, we're going to come back to that one in a little bit. In the meantime, we remembered we left a little bit of compound behind in this deposit. So we're grabbing a bit more of that now. And then I think we're going to be... we're going to have a bit of an explore and see if we can find... well, firstly, we probably need some more compound, but... secondly, we just want to see if there's any other resources or equipment or anything out there that we could find useful in our base or in our explorations of Novus. Well, we didn't have to go very far. We have Exhibit A, which is a wind turbine. Oh, hello. We've got a broken down base. Well, these can be a bit of a lottery. Sometimes they don't have very much useful. Other times... Oh, look, we've got another wind turbine and a battery. Hey, that's pretty awesome. Anyone notice anything else here that might be really good? Ooh. I'm going to say jackpot on that one. Alright, this is a normal size RTG. Now, unlike the small ones, which only produce 1 unit of power, these full-size RTGs, they actually produce 4 units of power. So, at a basic level, this fella is going to make for a nice little consistent power supply for us in our base as we... you know, fuel further expansion. So, yeah, I honestly couldn't believe my eyes when I saw that. Like, I've come across them that way before, but honestly, I don't think I've ever seen them sort of this early, in the sense that normally I've almost reached the point where I can actually make them myself by the time I find my first one, you know, as part of some debris somewhere. So to get one this early on Novus is just awesome. So yeah, that's a fantastic find. Alright, we're going to find our way back there now and see if there's anything else of any use there. Honestly, I wouldn't care at this stage. Just finding that RTG is just absolute gold. But we're going to have a bit of a look in case there's any other little canisters of resources or anything like that here that we might be able to use. I had hopes for that wind turbine, but as it turns out, that was just debris, as is this one as well. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything else of any value here. None of these platforms have any plugs on them, so some of the debris platforms, they'll show as debris, but they'll still have like 1 or 2 plug sockets on them. Yeah, those you can actually use. Like you can drag them down and just plug them into the end of your setup if you get desperate. But most of the time I don't bother, because half the time I don't pre-plan. Actually, not half the time. 100% of the time I don't pre-plan my base layouts. They just kind of happen organically. And to chuck a platform in somewhere that has only 1 plug socket on it, that might sort of mess up my plans a bit. So, or my lack of plans a bit. So, yeah, I don't tend to use them. There was a time where I used to, but these days not so much. Stay tuned though. With some of the other planets, it may become necessary at some stage to do that. But for now, we're all good. Now, with so many wind turbines, we're just spitting out a large platform here just so we've got somewhere we can start collecting them all. And there we go. That's all hooked up. We'll chuck out 2 existing wind turbines on there. We're not going to bother putting the RTG on there because it's got its own little home at the moment. We'll leave the remaining spaces open for any solar panels or wind turbines that we find in addition to the ones we already have. But we are definitely off to a fantastic start as far as power goes. And look at this, we even found ourselves an exocache. Nice. This is probably one of the best starts I've had on a new celestial body for quite some time. That said though, I'm not sure if it's just because the moons are smaller, it just tends to push everything a bit closer together. But some of my more historically fantastic starts are usually on moons as opposed to planets. So I'm not sure if there's a correlation there or it's just the way my luck works. But at this stage, I'm pretty damn happy with the way everything's gone. So we're going to keep spitting out platforms here. We've got a lot more base expansion to do. We still need to get a science setup running, which we're not going to get to in this episode. We still want to push on and get some more resources, which is actually what we're going to be doing now. We're in the process of, zapping a few samples at the moment, but once we're finished that, we're going to go down here into this canyon crater type thing, and we're going to see what other little resources / toys we can find down here. But immediately we do have a little bit of a dangerous setup here. We've got those 2 kinds of plants that I was alluding to earlier. They're right next to each other. So you've got the little shorter one, which has the red blob on the end of it. That's the one that hurls bombs at you, and honestly, unless you're standing right next to the red thing when it explodes, you're not usually going to have a problem. And then right next to it is that little whip thing. And there's another one of these whippy looking plants right there. And they look really innocuous. And honestly, I think I've been hit 2 or 3 times before I put 2 and 2 together, because they kind of knock you away a little bit as well. So yeah, just be a bit wary of those guys. Anyway, we have made it into the canyon, and we're kind of spoilt for choice here in terms of which cave to go into. But we're just gonna go into this first one on the right. So we're just gonna make a little bit of a ramp. Now, I generally wouldn't have needed to make these ramps, but I'm actually anticipating a need to bring once we build the tractor, we're probably going to want to use the tractor to do a bit of exploring underground as well. So I'm just sort of paving the way, so to speak, to make sure that I've got easy access should I decide to come down here with the tractor. Now, we're heading down this tunnel. We are having the usual issues with making sure the tethers are the right distance apart. And, oh, hello. Yes, I know I don't mouse over that to confirm what it is, but that is actually lithium. Those little curly things are actually lithium. Not interested in lithium right now, and I'm also not interested in falling through this hole right now. Actually, I'm not interested in falling through the hole at all. What I'm more interested in is this stuff. This is hematite. Hematite is probably one of the main reasons we're here. Hematite, we need this so that we can smelt it up and get iron. And there is a lot of things that we want iron for, and not the least of which we need some for the atmospheric condenser. So now that we've found ourselves some iron, we're going to leg it back up to base, and we now need to get ourselves some smelting underway. And in anticipation of that, that's what this platform is going to be for, is so we can get the smelter set up. We're just going to slap it on the end here. We now just need to print out a smelting furnace. We'll just set the hematite aside here for a moment. We need a couple of resin and we need a compound. And there's some we prepared earlier. So we can just crank that fella out and get that one set up. And we are one step closer to hitting our second goal for being here on Novus, which is to get some methane from the atmosphere. Wow, this is going really well. Just of note, everything that I cover in this episode, quite a lot of it is sped up. I ended up recording just a little bit over 40 minutes, but I couldn't believe how much I managed to get done in that time frame. So, yeah, really good setup here. But anyway, we're getting ready to get our smelting setup sort of cracking. We're going to utilize this little storage thing just for the moment. Once we get a rover up and running, we're probably just going to make use of that on the rover. But for now, to save me having to, use resin to make medium storage holdery type things, we are just going to use that to hold the materials that come out of the smelter when they're ready. Now, this base was starting to get a bit long in one direction, so I thought I'll go sort of out in that direction, but I wanted to leave plenty of room so I could get in and out with the tractor if I needed to. And then that's where I remembered, that's right, I've left some power extenders behind on this platform over here. So we've come back to grab those, and we are going to use those as a way of extending our base in a slightly different direction. Namely where that platform is that I just placed. And I'll show you how these extenders work, because it was the longest time before I figured out I wasn't taking full advantage of them. I used to just treat them like an extension lead, only capable of sending power in one direction, but that is not necessarily the only use for them. So we activate the little clippy thing that you put on your backpack, and that spits one of these fellas out. We're going to align it with our direction of connection, and it doesn't matter what order you plug things in. You plug it in like that, and then it'll detect that power's at one end, and it'll assume you want it to go on the other end. Now, that's the default way, but if you mouse over it and hold F, it will switch it to a dual direction power setup. Now, I could have left it, in this instance, I could have left it in just the single direction, because all the power stuff's, over there. So the power's only going to be going in one direction anyway. But I thought, hey, I'm setting that one up. I may as well show you guys how to get them set up to be bidirectional. That pretty much brings us to the end of this episode. If you've enjoyed it, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and to consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. Until next time, my name is Rudimentary Rob. Thank you very much for watching, and have yourself an absolutely fantastic day.